Lindsey here. I'm hoping that heater is not humming too loudly, but I am here in my little cozy makeshift office space, and I have a couple of little projects that I need to do, but I thought that I would just go ahead and film it for you just in case you needed this idea or you need to know how to make these. There's a lot of people out there who have never been taught to sew. They don't know. They may have a sewing machine that somebody gifted them or something that they came across and decided it would be a good idea, and then they put it down and never pick it back up. So I would definitely like to get back into sewing a lot more. I used to sew quite a bit. I'm not a professional seamstress and I'm not great at it, but I've got a lot of good ideas on little things to sew that would just make my life a little bit easier. So today I'm going to show you one of those. Now for me, I leave this bowl out on my counter to collect dog scraps in and chicken scraps in, and I would like to have a cover over it. I just currently just put a little towel over it, but sometimes the towel gets ripped off. It almost makes the bowl fall into the floor. Like, it's too much. So I'm gonna make a cover that goes over this, just an little elastic bowl cover, nothing too serious, but I think this would be a pretty good project to do and even gift it. Today I'm using a pull material. It's a food safe pull. Pull is polyurethane laminate, I think is what it's called. Some of them are food safe and some of them are not. But I was thinking that if you were gonna make them for like the fridge, putting food away in the fridge or something, it would be really neat to do this clear vinyl. I just got this at Walmart. It's been a while, but I know they still have it. But yeah, just this clear vinyl, and maybe put a window in yours or something. I think that would be pretty neat. That way you could see what was in your bowl in the fridge. But today we're just making a plain Jane pull bowl cover. So I've got my little workspaces set up as best I can. I tried to do this in the dining room, and just with Jay working there, he's typing, and the kids are in the living room playing, and it was too much. So I just came back here to try and see what I can get done. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. So I have this little lap desk that I'm gonna use, but obviously a table would work better. But I have this cutting mat so I don't cut into it, and hopefully that'll work. I mean, it's gonna be a little bit close, so we may have to move it, but. So I've got my piece of pull here, and I'm doing this off of a bowl, so I'm just gonna measure mine. So this one's a 10-incher, so if I were gonna do a set for somebody, I would just start with a 12. This is the biggest bowl in my set. But I would just start with a 12 inches and then go down 2 inches every size, and then you have like a nice little set that would match your mixing bowls. I'm just gonna start by tracing this, but I want it to be 2 inches larger than my circle. I'm personally going to measure and mark it and then just kind of wing it because I don't have a lot of space to cut. And I'm doing 2 inches because I want to make a little insert for this to go into, and I want it to go down on the bowl a little bit. I don't want it to just be the very tip top because I want it to stay on pretty well. Going to measure this around, pull it tight, and just give it a snip. Of course, we'll lose a little bit of this when we sew it together, so I'll just keep that in mind. Once I get my pull cut out, I'm just going to lay it over my other fabric. I didn't quite have enough of this fabric, but that's okay because it's white anyway, so it would probably show dirt if stains on it. It's not like the pull fabric. This is just a cotton that I'm going to put on the outside, and then I'll have this pull on the inside to just kind of protect it. But I'm just going to cut out a circle the same size. So now I'm going to take these over to my sewing machine, and I've got the right sides together. So that means the two pretty sides, I put those together. And I'm going to just take it and sew it all around with probably like a little 1/4 inch seam. As I'm sewing this together, I'm going to make sure to leave a little opening because we're going to need to put our elastic in there in just a little bit. So I'm just going to sew it with a 1/4 inch seam allowance all the way around. So I've sewn all the way around, and I've still got a little opening right there. I'm going to, you can see a little bit better on this side, but I'm going to cut off some of the excess because that's, when I flip it, that's where all of the elastic's going to go. So I'm going to go ahead and cut out some of this because my sewing's not perfect. Alright, now that I have my circle sewn, I'm just going to turn it right side out through that little hole that I left. And make sure, I'm just going to go the seam and make sure everything's poked out. And this would be a good time to iron it if you have an iron handy. I don't, so I'm just winging it. So I'll just kind of have to smooth mine out as I go. But I'm going to leave this open, and I'm going to sew another circle. But I'm going to be fitting this 3/8 inch elastic into that channel that we're going to make. So I think I'm actually going to do a 5/8 circle all the way around just so I have enough room to feed that in, and that will give me a little bit of leeway in case I mess this up. So I'm just going to try to straighten as I sew and go really slow and just keep my edge on that 5/8 mark as I go all the way around. And of course I'm not going to leave my open hole this time, but I'm going to be conscious of where that is. I like to do a couple reverse stitches while I'm sewing just to kind of keep it tight, make sure it's not going to come out. Alright, so I've got my cover done here. So just to recap, we sewed our circle, we flipped it right side out. I left open a, I guess that's 3-inch hole. And then I sewed a circle about 5/8 of an inch all the way around. And now I'm going to run my elastic through it. This is not perfect, but I'm here to tell you, you don't have to be perfect to get a little project done and solve a problem. Aha. Well, I found my pins and my safety pin in one go. So I guess I can show you the right way to do this. If I had two, that would even be better because I could tag one end to that so it didn't go through. But I'm just going to, hello Jason. I'm just going to quickly pin. Well, I'm going to quickly just pin that safety pin, close it, and pin it to one end of my elastic. And now I'm going to run it through. And it's just going to give me something to hold on to and something to kind of feel and feed through. And the main thing is I don't want to twist my elastic as I go. But this is a really easy thing to do if you have a safety pin, so those are something really good to have on hand. Sometimes when you buy clothes like at a thrift store or a flea market, they'll have a safety pin with the price tag attached, so keep those safety pins. You can also obviously buy them, but they're something handy to have for sewing. I've used them a lot. Maybe it's because I've used a lot of things that require encased elastic, I don't know. But I did measure my elastic. I just put it around the bowl that I wanted on. So I made it slightly shorter than I needed to go around the bowl. That way you get that scrunch. That's what's gonna hold it on the bowl. But just make sure you keep an eyeball on that tail to make sure that it doesn't go through, because when I first started sewing, I had many a tail go through and undid all my wonderful work. And now, here I am at the end. Boop. Alright, so now what I can do is pin these together. Pin my two pieces of elastic together now. Let's see here. The whole deal with the elastic is that you can always cut some off, but you can't make it longer, so I always cut it just a little long. And then I'm just going to stretch this out and just kind of pull this elastic in to see what I'm dealing with, to make sure it's going to fit on my bowl and all that good stuff. I feel like I made a shower cap. It's the exact same way you make a shower cap. So it looks like my elastic is a little bit long, so I'm going to take some and cut it. That way it'll just be tight around my bowl. But let's do a little look-see and see if it's gonna fit. Boop. Yeah, so once I get I'm just gonna cut a couple inches off my elastic, and then I think it'll be perfect. But how cute is that? And if you're really fancy, like if you were taking this to, you know, those old things we used to have, barbecues and lake days and all that, if you needed to take something, then you could even monogram it or put your name on it with some vinyl or even a Sharpie if you were doing the other side. Sharpie marker. I'm just gonna cut my elastic down again. Actually, I'll probably just sew it together a little bit closer. It looks like I made mine 2 inches too long, just to have it nice and tight. So I'll just show you what I'll show you what that looks like, and then I will close her up and we'll be done with our project. Remove my handy dandy pin. I'm just gonna overlap it. And then sew these two together with a zigzag stitch. And I'm just running it back and forth a few times. Now I'm just going to stuff in the ends, or actually snip off the ends. Then stuff them in, and I'm going to roll both of my seams here to give this a close. And I'm not too worried about this being pretty. I'm not worried about it catching the elastic. That doesn't matter to me. I'm just gonna close it. Now I'm just going to cut off all my little threadies that are always everywhere every time I sew. Cute little bowl cover to cover my bowl for dog scraps and chicken scraps, all the animal scraps. I think this would be good to use for your compost scraps as well. I think that would be pretty good. You could even add an extra layer. You could even put a charcoal filter pocket in there if you wanted to, and you could make your very own, because I know those compost bins can sometimes be expensive. I am not a professional seamstress, and it's not something that I'm great at, but I give it a good try. If you want a serious tutorial, I'm sure there's a lot more out there on YouTube that have like really great tutorials on this. But I wanted to just kind of give you an idea of some small things that you can sew even if you're a beginner. So this would be a really good beginner project because it's very forgiving. It doesn't have to be perfect and you're gonna get the job done. But thank you so much for watching today. Let me know down in the comments if you sew, and if you do, what are some of your favorite projects to do. If you liked this project and you want me to do a few more, I do have some other things that need to get done around here and some ideas that I've had for a little while. If you want to see more of my little sewing projects, then I'd like to know that in the comments too. But I can't wait to chat with you down there, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye. To do this heater off, I'm burning. And now, the aftermath of my sewing escapades. Escapades. This always happens. Gracious me. Now I got clean up.